Is it last?
I know.
Okay.
Mm. It went through that time, Minister Freeman. You just got to play with it sometime. A couple times, you know, you got to erase, cut, paste. So we all live. So be careful how you looking.
It's
I'm on
all
Facebook. You all live. Yeah.
and great work. Great troubleshooting.
Just got to be patient with it. You know. Seven after 5.
Islam goddess.
Islam.
Did you want to introduce this? The solar plexus?
Yes, I just we're going through the Hermetic principles, so we'll be doing as above, so below. So instead of doing the crown chakra for mentalism, I decided to do the below, which is the solar plexus. Islam. And before the meditation, I did want to read.
Can we open up with prayer? Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is our protector, our guide, and our salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Amen. Salvation of God, unity. The divine constitution of Moorish America. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the prophet and grand body of Moorish America. Assist the Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The bylaws, Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh. And on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended to his Father, God, Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced for all citizens of Moorish America. No citizens to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life according. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. But us all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of the said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, Ethiopians, because these things were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and last to 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is the new time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and partial. All uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you're entitled to the name of faith. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part and partial, part of uplifting, subhanAllah, a part of uplifting a fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Prophet Noble Jew Ali, peace be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution of Moorish America. And I just wanted to apologize to all of our listeners that's under the sound of our voice. And first and foremost, I rise and give praise to Almighty God, Allah, which I should have done first, and honor to His holy prophet, and giving honor to our theocratic government of Moorish America, and giving honor to all divine ministers, swift angels, special honor to our citizens, special honor to our children, special honor to all our people all over the planet Earth, and a special honor where honor is due. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Musa, pray for El-Bey. Islam.
Islamism, and gratitude, Council General, for opening that meeting according to law. All praise is due to the Almighty God Allah, His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, forerunner Marcus Mosiah Garvey, our theocratic government, all my Moorish kin, everything that is Moorish, all of the young and yet born. I say peace, love, and gratitude. Welcome to our macrocosm class. Class week. We're gonna have the goddess Nicole Williams El-Bey start us off with her total access for the solar plexus chakra. Islam.
Islam. I rise giving praise and honor to the great God of the universe. High honors to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali. High honors to our ancestors. Honors to all the Moors here, there, and everywhere. Welcome to another Wednesday Zoom class. And before the meditation, I wanted to read a letter that I discovered from another Moor. It is a letter that Albert Einstein allegedly wrote to his daughter. When I proposed the theory of relativity, very few understood me, and what will reveal now to transmit to mankind will also collide with the misunderstanding and prejudice in the world. I ask you to guard the letters as long as necessary, years, decades, until society is advanced enough to accept what I will explain below. There is an extremely powerful force that so far science has not found a formal explanation of. It is a force that includes and governs all others, and is even behind any phenomenon operating in the universe and has not yet been identified by us. This universal force is love. When scientists look for a unified theory of the universe, they forgot the most powerful unseen force. Love is light that enlightens those who give and receive it. Love is gravity because it makes some people feel attracted to others. Love is power because it multiplies the best we have and allows humanity not to be extinguished in their blind selfishness. Love unfolds and reveals. For love, we live and die. Love is God, and God is love. This force explains everything and gives meaning to life. This is the variable that we have ignored for too long. Maybe because we are afraid of love, because it is the only energy in the universe that man has not learned to drive at will. To give visibility to love, I made a simple substitution in my most famous equation. If instead of E equals MC squared, we accept that the energy to heal the world can be obtained through love multiplied by the speed of light squared. We arrive at the conclusion that love is the most powerful force there is because it has no limits. After the failure of humanity in the use and control of the other forces of the universe that have turned against us, it is urgent that we nourish ourselves with another kind of energy. If we want our species to survive, if we are to find meaning in life, If we want to save the world and every sentient being that inhabits it, love is the one and only answer. Perhaps we are not yet ready to make a bomb of love, a device powerful enough to entirely destroy the hate, selfishness, and greed that devastates the planet. However, each individual carries within them a small but powerful generator of love whose energy is waiting to be released. When we learn to give and receive this universal energy, we will have affirmed that love conquers all. It's able to transcend everything and anything because love is the quintessence of life. I deeply regret not having been able to express what is in my heart, which has quietly beaten for you all my life. Maybe it's too late to apologize, but as time is relative, I need to tell you that I love you, and thanks to you, I have reached the ultimate answer. Signed, your father, Albert Einstein. But I thought that letter was very powerful. And we speak about love, but we're really not exercising it. And for the meditation, with the Hermetic principles, as I stated before, we're doing as above, so below. So we're going to do, instead of the crown chakra for mentalism, we're going to do the solar plexus. Islam.
Islamism. Again, I am Deputy Counsel General Saraya Rehum Musa El-Bey of the Maryland Consulate, rising giving praise to the Almighty God Allah, His Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, forerunner Marcus Mosiah Garvey, all my Moorish kin, everything that is Moorish, all the youth and yet born, peace, love, and gratitude. We are a microcosm of the macrocosmic universe children's Zoom class. Today is Wednesday. Title of this class is The Principle of Mentalism. The host is Student Minister Nicole Williams El-Bey of the Maryland Consulate. The objective is to continue our open-minded discussion about the 7 Hermetic principles. Our master words of study today are mental attitude, mental law, mental science, mental treatment, mentality, mind, and mirror. The chapter of the week we'll be reading from chapter 9, from the circle 7, after the feast, the homeward journey, the missing Yehoshua. We will also do a video, a YouTube video, the Kabbalion, chapter 7. Let me express that we do not own the rights to that video. We are operating for educational purposes only. Question on the floor will be, how can I apply the tool of mentalism in my life? Before we get to the master words of study, I would like for our senior Deputy Counsel General Anwar Ali El to read chapter 9 from the circle 7. Islam.
Islam, Islam, Islam. I'm Divine Minister Anwar Ali El, Maryland Counselor. Once again, I rise, giving perfect praise to the great God Allah, honors to his prophets, honors to the last prophet in these days of time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honor to the Royal Council of the Most American Government, all the officials, all the citizens. Give honor where honor is due. Give honor to all of you. Give honor to this Maryland Council Zoom meeting and all the participants and everyone that's listening. Islam. Chapter 9. After the feast, the homeward journey, the missing Yehoshua, the search for him. His parents find him in the temple. He goes with them to Nazareth, symbolic meaning of carpenter tools. The great feast of Pius was ended, and the Nazarenes were journeying toward their home. And they were in Samaria, and Mary said, "There's my son. No one had seen the boy." And Joseph sought around their kindreds who were on their way to Galilee, but they had seen him not. Then Joseph, Mary, and the son of Zebedee returned and sought through all Jerusalem, but could find him not. And Mary asked the guard, "Have they seen Yehoshua, a little boy about 12 years old?" The guard said, "Yes, he is in the temple, now disputing with the doctors of the law." And they went in and found him as the guard had said. And Mary said, "Why, Yehoshua, why do you treat your parents thus? Lo, we have sought 2 days for you. We feared that some great harm had overtaken you." And Yehoshua said, "Do you not know that I must be about my father's work?" But he went around and pressed the hand of every doctor of the law and said, "I trust that we meet again." And then he went forth with his parents on the way to Nazareth. And when they reached their home, he wrought with Joseph as a carpenter. One day, as he was bringing forth the tools for work, he said, "These tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind." where things are made of thought and where we build up character. 14, he used the square to measure all our lines, to straighten out the crooked places of the way, and make the corners of our conduct square. We use the compass to draw the circles around our passions and desires, to keep them in the bonds of righteousness. We use the axe to cut away the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. We use the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it in until it is a part of every part. We use the plane to smooth the rough, uneven surface of joint and block and board that go to build the temple for the truth. The chisel, line, and plummet and the saw all have their uses in the workshop of the mind. And then this ladder, with its trinity of steps, faith, hope, and love, on it we climb up to the dome of purity in life. And on the 12-step ladder, we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of that which life is spent to build, the temple of perfected man, Islam.
Islamism, and gratitude for that measure.
Gratitude.
Goddess, I think we need to go to the master words of study.
Islam.
Islam. All right. Let's see if I can.
Our first master word of study is mental attitude. Do I have any more with their measure for mental attitude? Islam.
Islam, first and foremost, I rise to give praise to all. Go ahead, Mr. Ambar. You had your hand up first. Go ahead.
Islam. Mental attitude. A mental attitude used as a noun is very rare. A complex mental state involving beliefs and feelings and values and dispositions to act in certain ways. Islam.
Islam, Dr. Malik El-Bey, already risen and giving praise to Almighty God Allah and honor to our holy prophet, and honor where honor is due. Mental attitude, I'm coming from, excuse me, the science of mind. An attitude means a position assumed or studied as indicating action, feeling, or mood. Our mental attitude then is the general tendency of our mind, the tendency of our thought takes as a whole. Islam?
Islam. Gratitude for that measure. My measure was similar to Senior Deputy Counsel Anwar Aliel. Definition for mental attitude: a complex mental state involving beliefs, feelings, and values, and dispositions to act in a certain way. Islam. Our next master word of study is mental law. Mental law. Can I get any more to come up with a definition for mental law?
Islam?
Islam, General.
Dr. Malik El-Bey once again, already risen, coming from the science of mind once again, mental law. Universal subjectivity is the avenue through which God operates as law, the law of mental action. The mental medium must be thought of as the mental law. Islam?
Islam. Anyone else with a definition for mental law? Goddess, I would like to know what you have for the definition of mental law. Islam?
Islam, the same as general from the science of the mind.
Islam, gratitude.
Hello?
Islam,
Islam, well, having already risen, mental law, just as there are physical laws that describe and govern the behavior of the physical universe. Okay. The mental law describes the way the mind works. This information can also be called the science of mind. Islam.
Islam. We have the definition for mental science. My definition is relating to the mind, its activity, or its products as an object of study. Ideological mental science, relating to the spirit or idea as opposed to the matter, the distinction between physical things and mental ideas. Islam. Do we have any more for mental science?
Islam.
Islam.
Once again, I think I'm coming from the same area that the host is, Dr. Nicole Williams El-Bey. If she want to come forward with that definition, or is it all right that I just go ahead with that? Because I know we're coming from the same angle.
Islam, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Mental science. The science of mind and spirit, a systematic knowledge of the laws governing the mental and spiritual world. Islam.
Islam.
Islam. I believe Minister Anwar, I don't know if that's from a previous definition or not, but his hand is up. Islam.
Minister Adward, are you trying to answer mental science again?
That was my hand up from the last time. Islam.
Islam, gratitude. Our next master word of study, the term is mental treatment. Mental treatment. And I would like the goddess to lead off with that particular term, mental treatment.
Islam.
Islam.
The act, the art, the science of inducing thought in mind, which thought operated upon by law becomes a manifest condition. Islam.
Islam, gratitude. Is there anyone else for the term of mental treatment? My definition was putting the mind in the state to produce thought. Islam, putting the mind in the state to produce thought. Not according to law. Islam. Is there anyone else for mental treatment?
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Mental treatment. Treatment, your treatment team medication. Although psychiatrists, medications doesn't cure mental illness, they can often significantly improve the symptoms. Islam.
Islam. Gratitude for that. That sounded like mental health treatment to me, but Islam, gratitude for that definition. Going to the next term of study, mentality. Mentality. we have a definition for mentality. I will give you my definition. Mentality as a noun, characteristic, attitude of mind or way of thinking of a person or a group. And one from back in the day was the capacity for intelligent thought. The capacity for intelligent thought. Anyone else for the definition of mentality?
Islam?
Islam,
Did you have
General?
your hand up, Minister Anwar, or you
Go
that's
ahead,
the
I
last?
go after you.
Okay, mentality, an individual use of universal mind. There is one mind, but within this one mind are many mentalities.
Gratitude, Islam.
Wow.
Is there anyone else for the definition of mentality?
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, haven't already risen. Definition of mentality: mental power or capacity, intelligence, mode, or way of thought. Islam.
Islam. Gratitude for that measure.
That's it.
We will move to the next term. Next master word of study is mind. Mind. Do we have anyone who has a measure, an understanding of mind? I can give you mine. It has a noun, the element of a person that enables them to be aware of the world and their experiences, to think and to feel, the faculty of consciousness and thought. Islam. Does anybody else have a definition for mind?
Islam.
Islam.
Mind. No one has ever, I'm coming from Science of the Mind. No one has ever seen mind or spirit. The only proof we have of mind is that we can think, but we are perfectly justified in believing that we have a mind. Actually, there's no such thing as your mind and my mind, his mind, her mind, and God's mind. There's just mind in which we live, move, and have our being. Mind is both conscious and subconscious. Conscious mind is spirit, either in God or man. Unconscious mind is the law of conscious mind acting and is therefore subconscious or subjective. Mind is potential energy, while thought is the dynamic force which produces the activity for manifestation. The one mind is all of truth. Our mind, that point in God consciousness, which we call our mind, is as much of truth as we will allow to flow through and bless us. Islam.
Islam. Last master word of study is mirror of mind. Mirror of mind. Anyone with a definition for mirror of mind?
Islam.
Islam.
Is mirror mind, the subjective world, reflecting the images of thought, which are projected into it by the conscious mind. The term is used because the subjective side of life acts like a mirror. It reflects the form of thought that are giving it. Islam?
Islam. Gratitude for that measure, General. Anyone else with the definition for that? I can give my measure. The mind is like a mirror. Whatever comes in front of it is reflected in it. The mirror is neither the garbage can nor the scenery. And that is exactly how it is with our own consciousness. Our consciousness is like a mirror. Islam.
Islam.
Minister Anwar?
Islam. Islam, having already risen. A mirror of mind. This allows you to influence the other person to some degree, encouraging them to trust you and believe you. When you mirror someone, they'll slowly begin to mirror you back. Solidifying this dynamic. Islam.
Islam. That will conclude our definitions for the Master Words of Study. And gratitude to all who have participated in this meeting up until this point. Gratitude to all who have come to this meeting. Because you made a choice of free will to come, and gratitude for your presence. Goddess Nicole Williams, El-Bey. The next thing we have is the video of the Kabbalion. Are you prepared for that?
Islam. But before we go there, I want to go back to the chapter starting at ayat 13. These
Okay.
tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things are made of thought and where we build up character. We use the square to measure all our lines, to straighten out the crooked places of the way, and make the corners of our conduct square. We use the compass to draw the circles around our passions and desires to keep them in the bonds of righteousness. We use the axe to cut away the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. We use the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it in until it is part of every part. We use the plane to smooth the rough, uneven surface of joint and block and board that go to build the temple for the truth. The chisel line, the plummet, and the saw all have their uses in the workshop of the mind. And then this ladder with its trinity of steps, faith, hope, and love on it, we climb up to the dome of purity and life. And on the 12-step ladder, we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of that which life is spent to build the temple of perfected man. And it's just instructions for us to climb from that lower self to get to our higher self. We have to start to release those things in our subconscious mind that's telling us, that, we can't get to where we should be. But we have to be diligent and utilize the tools. We have so many that we can use to assist us. We just have to be willing to use those tools to get there. Islam.
Islam. Gratitude for that understanding. Going back to those ayats, to use them as teaching tools, because that's what they are. And what we need to do is to be prepared for when we're reading in our Circle 7, our holy book of Moorish America. We need to make sure that we're inserting ourselves into those readings, because the lessons are for you, and most of the stories are allegorical. So you have to place yourself in it in order to get the lesson and get the understanding and get the principles that you're supposed to be getting from it. Islam.
Islam, can I add to that?
Absolutely, General, you the leader.
Islam, praise Allah. I'm a student today, Mo. Islam, I'm always a student and a teacher together. We all are. Praise be to
Islam.
Allah and honor
Islam.
to our holy prophet.
All
I'm
praises
gonna
be to
add
us.
to the tools, in that chapter, it speaks about the tools being symbols, but they're symbols of spirit or thought and characteristics of man removing his ego, so that the true man, the true self, may live in his higher self. Without the influence of the cares of the world, the tools are perseverance, diligence, discipline, obedience, self restraint, temperance, gratitude, sincerity, and many other things that one learns only through the mastery of self. So these tools have taken on physical form, and man learned through signs and symbols, and but the aspect of those two tools are spiritual to build that character, that higher self. So I just wanted to add that because the mastermind, his workshop. His mind is his workshop. And that's where our focus of attentions ought to be. Is 95% of the day, our focus attention should be on our own mind. Gratitude.
Gratitude, General, for that measure, that understanding. My thought process is always that when we're using those tools, we're getting more and more to the place of being unselfish or selfless, because I believe selfish or selfishness brings us down and helps to breed what is in the lower self. And so when our thoughts are more into I for we, what I can do for we, what I can do for my family, what I can do for my community, what I can do for my nation, I think that helps us to grow into our higher self, because the law wants us to take care of one another. The law wants us to take care of our brother. And that holy covenant of the Asiatic nations says, if thy brother is in adversity, assist him. Thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So the law wants us to take care of one another, take care of ourselves, taking care of one another, and to continue to ascend and put ourselves back into the different. So again, gratitude for those measures, Goddess Nicole Williams, El-Bey, and Council General Malik El-Bey. So I believe now we'll be going to the volume.
Chapter 7, The All in All. Quote, while all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. To him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge. End quote, the Kabbalion. How often have the majority of people heard repeated the statement that their deity, called by many names, was all in all? And how little have they suspected the inner occult truth concealed by these carelessly uttered words? The commonly used expression is a survival of the ancient Hermetic maxim quoted above. As the Kabbalion says, quote, to him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge, end quote. And, this being so, let us seek this truth, the understanding of which means so much. In this statement of truth, this Hermetic maxim, is concealed one of the greatest philosophical, scientific, and religious truths. We have given you the Hermetic teaching regarding the mental nature of the universe, the truth that the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. As the Kabbalion says in the passage quoted above, all is in the all. But note also the correlated statement that it is equally true that the all is in all. This apparently contradictory statement is reconcilable under the law of paradox. It is, moreover, an exact Hermetic statement of the relations existing between the all and its mental universe. We have seen how all is in the all. Now let us examine the other aspect of the subject. The Hermetic teachings are to the effect that the all is immanent in, remaining within, inherent, abiding within, its universe, and in every part, particle, unit, or combination within the universe. This statement is usually illustrated by the teachers by a reference to the principle of correspondence. The teacher instructs the student to form a mental image of something, a person, an idea, something having a mental form, the favorite example being that of the author or dramatist forming an idea of his characters, or a painter or sculptor forming an image of an ideal that he wishes to express by his art. In each case, the student will find that while the image has its existence and being solely within his own mind, yet he, the student, author, dramatist, painter, or sculptor, is, in a sense, immanent in, remaining within, or abiding within the mental image also. In other words, the entire virtue, life, spirit of reality in the mental image is derived from the immanent mind of the thinker. Consider this for a moment until the idea is grasped. To take a modern example, let us say that Othello, Iago, Hamlet, Lear, Richard III existed merely in the mind of Shakespeare at the time of their conception or creation. And yet, Shakespeare also existed within each of these characters, giving them their vitality, spirit, and action. Whose is the spirit of the characters that we know as Micawber, Oliver Twist, Uriah Heep? Is it Dickens? Or have each of these characters a personal spirit independent of their creator? Have the Venus of Medici, the Sistine Madonna, the Apollo Belvedere, spirits and reality of their own, or do they represent the spiritual and mental power of their creators? The law of paradox explains that both propositions are true, viewed from the proper viewpoints. Micawber is both Micawber and yet Dickens. And again, while Micawber may be said to be Dickens, yet Dickens is not identical with Micawber. Man, like Micawber, may explain, the spirit of my creator is inherent within me, and yet I am not he? How different this from the shocking half-truth so vociferously announced by certain of the half-wise who fill the air with their raucous cries of, "I am God." Imagine poor Micawber or the sneaky Uriah Heep crying, "I am Dickens," or some of the lowly clods in one of Shakespeare's plays eloquently announcing that I am Shakespeare. The all is in the earthworm, and yet the earthworm is far from being the all. And still the wonder remains that though the earthworm exists merely as a lowly thing, created and having its being solely within the mind of the all, yet the all is immanent in the earthworm and in the particles that go to make up the earthworm. Can there be any greater mystery than this of, quote, all in the all and the all in all, end quote? The student will, of course, realize that the illustrations given above are not necessarily imperfect and inadequate, for they represent the creation of mental images of finite minds, while the universe is a creation of infinite mind, and the difference between the two poles separates them, and yet is merely a matter of degree. The same principle is in operation. The principle of correspondence manifests in each, quote, as above, so below, as below, so above, end quote. And in the degree that man realizes the existence of the indwelling spirit immanent within his being, so will he rise in the spiritual scale of life. This is what spiritual development means, the recognition, realization, and manifestation of the spirit within us. Try to remember this last definition, that of spiritual development. It contains the truth of true religion. There are many planes of being, many subplanes of life, many degrees of existence in the universe, and all depend upon the advancement of beings in the scale, of which scale the lowest point is the grossest matter, the highest being separated only by the thinnest division from the spirit of the all. And upward and onward along this scale of life, everything is moving. All are on the path, whose end is the all. All progress is a returning home. All is upward and onward, in spite of all seemingly contradictory appearances. Such is the message of the illumined. The Hermetic teachings concerning the process of mental creation of the universe are that at the beginning of the creative cycle, the all, in its aspect of being, projects its will towards its aspect of becoming, and the process of creation begins. It is taught that the process consists of the lowering of vibration until a very low degree of vibratory energy is reached, at which point the grossest possible form of matter is manifested. The process is called the stage of involution, in which the all becomes involved or wrapped up in its creation. This process is believed by the Hermetists to have a correspondence to the mental process of an artist, writer, or inventor who becomes so wrapped up in his mental creation as to almost forget his own existence, and who, for the time being, almost lives in his creation. If instead of wrapped we use the word wrapped, perhaps we will give a better idea of what is meant. This involuntary stage of creation is sometimes called the outpouring of the divine energy, just as the evolutionary state is called the indrawing. The extreme pole of the creative process is considered to be the furthest removed from the all, while the beginning of the evolutionary stage is regarded as the beginning of the return swing of the pendulum of rhythm, a, quote, coming home, end quote, idea being held in all of the Hermetic teachings. The teachings are that during the outpouring, the vibrations become lower and lower until finally the urge ceases and the return swing begins. But there is this difference, that while in the outpouring the creative forces manifest compactly and as a whole, yet from the beginning of the evolutionary or indrawing stage, there is manifested the law of individualization. That is, the tendency to separate into units of force, so that finally that which left the all as unindividualized energy returns to its source as countless highly developed units of life, having risen higher and higher in the scale by means of physical, mental, and spiritual evolution. The ancient Hermetists used the word meditation in describing the process of the mental creation of the universe in the mind of the all, the word contemplation also being frequently employed. But the idea intended seems to be that of the employment of the divine attention. Attention is a word derived from the Latin root, meaning to reach out, to stretch out. And so the act of attention is really a mental reaching out, extension of mental energy, so that the underlying idea is readily understood when we examine into the real meaning of attention. The Hermetic teachings regarding the process of evolution are that the all, having meditated upon the beginning of the creation, having thus established the material foundations of the universe, having thought it into existence, then gradually awakens or rouses from its meditation, and in so doing starts into manifestation the process of evolution on the material, mental, and spiritual planes successively and in order. Thus the upward movement begins, and all begins to move spiritward. Matter becomes less gross. The units spring into being. The combinations begin to form. Life appears and manifests in higher and higher forms, and mind becomes more and more in evidence, the vibrations constantly becoming higher. In short, the entire process of evolution and all of its phases begins and proceeds according to the established laws of the indrawing process. All of this occupies eons upon eons of man's time, each eon containing countless millions of years, but yet the illumined inform us that the entire creation, including involution and evolution of a universe, is but, quote, as the twinkle of the eye, end quote, to the all. At the end of countless cycles of eons of time, the all withdraws its attention, its contemplation and meditation of the universe, for the great work is finished, and all is withdrawn into the all from which it emerged. But mystery of mysteries, the spirit of each soul is not annihilated, but is infinitely expanded. The created and the creator are merged. Such is the report of the illumined. The above illustration of the meditation and subsequent awakening from meditation of the all is, of course, but an attempt of the teachers to describe the infinite process by a finite example. And yet, quote, as below, so above, end quote, The difference is merely in degree. And just as the all arouses itself from the meditation upon the universe, so does man, in time, cease from manifesting upon the material plane and withdraws himself more and more into the indwelling spirit, which is indeed the divine ego. There is one more matter of which we desire to speak in this lesson, and that comes very near to an invasion of the metaphysical field of speculation, although our purpose is merely to show the futility of such speculation. We allude to the question which inevitably comes to mind of all thinkers who have ventured to seek the truth. The question is, why does the all create universes? The question may be asked in different forms, but the above is the gist of the inquiry. Men have striven hard to answer this question, but still there is no answer worthy of this name. Some have imagined that the all had something to gain by it, but this is absurd, for what could the all gain that it did not already possess? Others have sought the answer in the idea that the all wished something to love, and others that it created for pleasure or amusement, or because it was lonely, or to manifest its power, all puerile explanations and ideas belonging to the childish period of thought. Others have sought to explain the mystery by assuming that the all found itself compelled to create by reason of its own internal nature, its creative instinct. This idea is in advance of the others, but its weak point lies in the idea of the all being compelled by anything, internal or external. If its internal nature or creative instinct compelled it to do anything, then the internal nature or creative instinct would be the absolute instead of the all, and so accordingly that part of the proposition falls. And yet, the all does create and manifest, and seems to find some kind of satisfaction in so doing. And it is difficult to escape the conclusion that in some infinite degree it must have what would correspond to an inner nature or creative instinct in man, with correspondingly infinite desire and will. It could not act unless it willed to act, and it would not will to act unless it desired to act, and it would not desire to act unless it obtained some satisfaction thereby. And all of these things would belong to an inner nature, and might be postulated as existing according to the law of correspondence. But still, we prefer to think of the all as acting entirely free from any influence, internal as well as external. That is the problem which lies at the root of difficulty, and the difficulty that lies at the root of the problem. Strictly speaking, there cannot be said to be any reason whatsoever for the all to act, for a reason implies a cause, and the all is above cause and effect, except when it wills to become a cause, at which time the principle is set into motion. So, you see, the matter is unthinkable, just as the all is unknowable. Just as we say the all merely is, so we are compelled to say that, quote, the all acts because it acts, end quote. At the last, the all is all reason in itself, all law in itself, all action in itself. And it may be said truthfully that the all, as its own reason, its own law, its own act, or still further, that the all, its reason, its act, is law, are one, all being names for the same thing. In the opinion of those who are giving you these present lessons, the answer is locked up in the inner self of the all, along with its secret of being. The law of correspondence, in our opinion, reaches only to that aspect of the all which may be spoken of as, quote, the aspect of becoming, end quote. Back of that aspect is, quote, the aspect of being, end quote, in which all laws are lost in law. All principles merge into principle, and the all, principle, and being are identical, one and the same. Therefore, metaphysical speculation on this point is futile. We go into the matter here merely to show that we recognize the question and also the absurdity of the ordinary answers of metaphysics and theology. In conclusion, it may be of interest to our students to learn that while some of the ancient and modern Hermetic teachers have rather inclined in the direction of applying the principle of correspondence to the question, with the result of the inner nature conclusion, still the legends have it that Hermes the Great, when asked this question by his advanced students, answered them by pressing his lips tightly together and saying not a word, indicating that there was no answer. But then he may have intended to apply the axiom of his philosophy that, quote, the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding, end quote, believing that even his advanced students did not possess the understanding which entitled them to the teaching. At any rate, if Hermes possessed the secret, he failed to impart it, and so far as the world is concerned, the lips of Hermes are closed regarding it. And where the great Hermes hesitated to speak, what mortal may dare to teach? But remember that whatever be the answer to this problem, if indeed there be an answer, the truth remains that, quote, while all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all, end quote. The teaching on this point is emphatic, and we may add the concluding words of the quotation, quote, to him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge, end quote.
Here's an important question to ask yourself. What's your one takeaway from today's video? And if you're feeling sassy, like in a good way, how are you going to use it? Share it with me in the comments, and be sure to subscribe if you want to stay in the loop for new ways to shine your light, no matter what anyone has to
Islam,
say
that's
about
the
it.
end of the video. Well, that was a mouth and the earful. But out of this chapter, I still went back to love. And that's why I read that letter in the beginning. Like, that is the most powerful force. If we would understand it from an unconditional way, we can change the game of life to a more loving life instead of one of unhappiness and ungratefulness. So at this, how much time do we have?
We're now prepared to go to the question, place it on the
Yeah.
floor.
Islam.
God is love. Allah is love. So it's not curious why this is so. The question on the floor. Can everybody see it? Can you see the question on the floor?
Yes.
I can see it.
Islam.
How can I apply the tool of mentalism in my life? I will start out with the general first. Do you have anything to say as far as this question, General?
It's Islam grand meeting, and giving honor where honors due, giving honor to our host, Michelle Nicole El-Bey, for the planning of this class. Praise be to Allah, giving honor to our holy prophet. When I think about this question here, it brings me to the question where the prophet say, what can we say about the holy brother? And the answer is, all we can say is, it is great, it's good, it was, it is, and evermore shall be. And what I mean by that specifically is that, there's a little section in the Science of the Mind where it speaks about we cannot isolate the mind. All we know about it is, all we know about it is not what it is, but what it does. And the greatest philosopher who ever lived knows no more than this, except that he may tell us more on how it works. So Prophet Noah Drew Ali teaches us that it's understanding is the rock on which we actually build ourselves. We know that man's mind is his tool, is his workshop, and that's where his focus of attention should be. The nature of thought is key, because those tools that we handle in the workshop by mind, we name some of the principles that are the tools. He gives us in the form of 12-step ladder, which are principles. And if we apply these principles, this thing that we call love, because Allah is love, will be the result of it, because we're dealing with cause and effect. As complicated as it may sound, it's really easy when you apply yourself. See, it's through application. It's not through words alone, it's through application, that you apply this science. This science is a living manifestation. And the master teacher, Yehoshua, give the following examples of him, that you are what you think. As a man thinketh, so is he. His answer lies within his prayers. The answer is the prayer, is in his prayer. This is why we went over some of the words, mental treatment, and the purpose of what the mental treatment is for, and et cetera, et cetera. So if we would want to love, the objective and the goal is to cultivate his mind, the nature of his thoughts, and lift his thoughts to infinite wisdom that result in love. Because, like I said, 85, 90% of the day, practitioner, his focus of attention is on his own thoughts, for the sake of being a part of the whole. It's not a selfish act. It's a responsibility and an obligation that one has in order to be a part of the whole, because we are one, but yet we're more than one. And I'm explaining it in this way because we have a lot of people that's listening. And when it comes to the prophet teachings, these 7 Hermetic principles help us get a grasp on the prophet's teachings in our Holy Quran, our Surah 7. Because that was one of the records that a lot of people really had problems understanding, and they wondered why that these 18 missing years was actually abstract from the Piscean record. Because these lessons give you specific steps on how to take control over your own mind. I found out that it's hard for people to talk about themselves. It's easy to talk about somebody else. Once you do that, your focus of attention is being directed in the wrong place, because you only see others or how you see yourself. Like if you see somebody as ugly, it's because that's what thought pattern exists in your mind, and et cetera. You only put out what you have in. And, I can go on and on and on about it. I want to make it plain and simple, because the all in all mean that, we're part of the one mind, the one universal mind. Like the Science of Mind said, there are not 2 minds, only 2 names. And one is objective and one is subjective. One is means spirit and the other one is soul. The soul is the servant of the spirit. Soul is what carry out the thought, the will of the spirit. So whatever you think into existence, your soul bring that into form. The prophet said we have a soul as of all knowledge. And it does not reject. It cannot. It only can carry out the will of what the spirit of what you put into it. You know, so making this thing as simple as I possibly can. You know, I would like to, this is what I strive to practice on a day-to-day basis. This is why I consider myself as being a student of the science of the mind. This is where we actually come to become masterminds and taking rule over our own selves, and not playing the victim, because man created his own heaven and his own hell. You know, so I'm gonna just stop right there, and I'm gonna say gratitude. Islam.
Islam
Islam.
and gratitude for that measure, Council General. That is everything was fundamental as to what you were saying concerning how to use the tool of mentalism. Is there anything that you wanted to say, Goddess Nicole Williams, El-Bey?
I just wanted to say that I am simply a messenger of love and gratitude. And I
Islam.
lead with that. Islam.
Islam. That is what we all should be. We should all be messengers of love. That's what the consciousness is supposed to bring out. You know, the great God that created all. Love is the great God, and God is the great love. Allah is love, and love is Allah. And we should be, and the thing about that love, because that term gets thrown around so generously, but the love is unselfish. Love is not looking for a return. It is not like you give a gift and I'm waiting for a gift back. But if you practice it properly, you will receive a bounty far beyond what you expect. But you can't expect it. It is just giving of yourself unselfishly and willingly. You know, this is when folks are taking leadership and teaching classes, they're giving of themselves willingly. Because this is what is a part of them. And their hope is that it helps someone else or it shows someone else light. That's love. That's unselfish love. You don't have to do that. So, question on the floor remains, how can I apply the tool of mentalism in my life? Is the Secretary of State available?
Islam.
Islam, would you like to reply to this question?
Islam, Mr. Shanka DJ Bay, rise, giving praises to God Allah, honest to his prophet, honest for honest due, honest to divine guidance, honest to Act One, honest to today's class, which is a grand class always, and most important, honest to our citizens and our children. The question on the floor, how can I apply the mental Islam? How can I apply the tool of mentalism in my life? And the root word of mentalism is mental, which deals with the mind. And the way we can apply it is just to do it. You know, you have all these great lessons, but if you don't apply them, if you don't use them on self, you know, everything we're learning, we have to apply to self first. So if I'm not working on my mind or working on my mental psyche, then how can I even give advice or show you how to work on yours or to help the 60 million. So I don't know which minister said it's not real complicated. You know, we like to play the victim a lot. Poor me, woe is me, but the prophet gave us the path that's clearly cut, and he took away all excuses. But we still try to throw something in there every now and then, excuse about why it didn't happen or why it happened. But the prophet took all excuses away, and it's about working on self. Sometimes you slip up, and because they say we're strangely mixed, but you make a speedy
Reparation.
Thank you. Reparations to
Reparation.
the utmost of your power, and he shows us how to do that. But some of us like to get the sympathy. I ain't gonna say empathy, because empathy when you can put yourself in someone else's shoes. Sympathy from someone else to validate. But if you're working on yourself, your psyche, if you're working on your mental, then you can pull yourself up and pull yourself around and out of a condition. Because like it was said, we create our own heaven and we create our own hell by the choices we make. And I'm not going to say unconsciously, because you make a choice and you make it consciously. Either you're going to do it or you're not. Either you're going to play the victim or you're not. So a lot of times we point fingers, even at our conditions. I was raised this way, it was that. That's when we didn't know any better. But as you grow and you know and you find out that it's you and it starts with you and ends with you, it should get better. Islam and peace.
Islam. Gratitude, Goddess, for that measure. And when you said that word sympathy, I used to talk to one of the elders, and he would say, sympathy usually produces a simp. And I said, what? I thought he was being cruel. I'm like, man, why would you say that? But I started to understand a little more that it is we are better when we're being empathetic. You know, when we're placing ourselves in it and understanding, yes, I've gone through this as well. Or yes, I've understood this. I've seen this before. And giving that account to let it be known that we're all a part of the circle, as opposed to be standing from the outside as if you're above someone and giving your sympathy. You know, like I've never gone through anything like that. But sorry for you. Interesting. So the floor is open, Moors. I see Senior Deputy Counsel General Anwar Ali L's hand up. The question on the floor. Do you need that read to you again, sir?
Yes, you can put it up.
It is how can I apply the tool of mentalism in my life?
Islam. Tools of mentalism. Having already risen, Moors. I was listening to what Counsel General was talking about. He was saying, because we had a quote in another arena that says, only through understanding and application does it work. So you can know about all these Hermetic principles, but if you don't put them into action, they're gonna just lay dormant. Plus the movies talked about the all in all, even in the worm. And basically what that's saying is that spirit that's in that worm is the spirit that's the same spirit that's in us, but at at a lower vibration. And that vibration comes a little higher to birds, to plants, to beasts, you know. So a law of spirit is in every living thing. People need to know that when they go around stepping on bugs, you know. Minister Lee also talked about the 18 missing years. And I've posed that question to quite a few Christian friends of mine, and they came up with some bogus stories. You know, most of them didn't know it was missing because of such and such. But the reason it was missing, and Council General talked about it, it was because those 18 missing years, if you have them back in your life or know what they were talking about, Yehoshua was building up his higher self to become the temple of perfected man. So with this mentalism in my life, I try to apply these principles in all my affairs. Do I fall short sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. You know, I try to get better as I go along with studying and reading. I just want to, and this is one of my favorite chapters, and this is the chapter that I focus on because, and Calvin Jones said it again, it's in the soul of man, and it says that thou hast a soul is of all knowledge. You know, why was that said? The soul is of all knowledge. Is because we go through this transition period or reincarnation period, you know, and that same soul, the one that's in me now, was in another flesh before me, and another one before. That's where the reincarnation thing comes from. You know, that's why a lot of times you'll have thoughts of deja vu. It's because some of those past events, from time to time, may slip through. But I want to read this about the soul. Let me go back to that movie. It talked about, I think the word is pronounced Kabbalan. It was a book published by a mysterious individual or individuals named the Three Initiates. This book referred to the three planes of existence, the physical, mental, and spiritual. And when I read that, I was like, okay, that's what that movie talking about, the all in all. So a large spirit is in each and every one of us. And what makes me operate is the information that has been planted into the soul of soul, my soul of soul, you know, and being that the mind never forgets a lot of stuff that's in there, I try to keep it subdued. You know, just like the first time you learn how to ride a bicycle, you'll never forget that because it's in there. It's like a road map. So I want to read this about the soul. It says, by its divine nature, the soul of man is truly the only soul where the exercise of thought can be developed. So all of those thoughts we implant into the soul, be it positive or negative, it's gonna grow if we contemplate on that thought long enough. It says the soul is is the totality of man's psychic character and often refers to his mind, personality, individual constitution, or heart. One's soul is the fertile home of all thought activity, such as thinking, reasoning, willing, understanding, and remembrance. The soul was given to spirit man. The soul was given to spirit man in order for him to learn all the lessons necessary to survive the trials, the fallings, the inactiveness of his inevitable fall. So in essence, when the great God of the universe created us in this flesh, which is another slower vibration than the spirit, we had to learn how to conquer. We had to learn how to conquer. It says, all his deceitful thoughts and lack of sincere thinking slows down the vibrations of false sensations and inactivity of thoughtlessness. That's dealing with this flesh. That's dealing with this flesh. Then it goes on to say, but his honest and active use of his soul resources, thinking, reasoning, willing, understanding, and remembrance, assures the perfection of his divine return and oneness is God. And in a nutshell, what it's saying is, if we implement these principles or practice these divine principles in all our affairs, it will elevate our consciousness up to another degree, that Christ degree. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Thank you very much for that measure. Gratitude indeed for that measure. Anwar Ali El, that was detailed, and you took us through that. You took us through that. Shows that you're working. Your brother, Deputy Counsel General Terrell Freeman L, puts in the chat grand measure and put a ooh-wee in there for you. That only means that he feels like he's working. Is there anyone else who would like to give a measure on the question? Got time for one more. One more, if there is any.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam family, I'm Terrell Freeman L, Deputy Counsel General of the Maryland Consulate, rising and giving praise to the great God, Allah, Father of the universe, and highest honors to his prophet, our prophet noble, Dur Ali El-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. I want to give high honors to our Moorish American government. I want to give high honors to our Moorish American theocratic government. I want to give high honors to everything that is Moorish. Everything that is Moorish, Islam. I'm up in the ethers over here, applying these lessons to self and striving to answer the question concisely. How can I apply the tool of mentalism in my life? I concur with my brothers and sisters. Hey there, good brothers. Good to see you. SubhanAllah family. I concur with my brothers and sisters of the consulate, as well as the holy breath that as Moorish kin, as Asiatics, there's naturally, natural pieces of that all, the great God of the universe, Allah, our chosen expression of that, of the great God of the universe. That application, the application of these truths to self, as we see, or we know, is not been a short span. Like, we're taught more science that there never was a time when man was not. Time never was when man was not. And when we're applying this wisdom in the workshop of the mind, where we can find those activities of thinking, willing, reasoning, remembrance, and understanding. That's when we have, this universal conversation that can be filled with words, no words, can be expressed in music, can be seen in the motions of, and just the manifestation of the worm, or Allah coming through man, Allah working through man, or hearing Allah through man. And then back to that still small voice. So the mastery of that whole experience, I love the video taking us through concepts that, taking us through a journey that allows the concept to be as it always has been: simple, truth, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Simple, but one. Simple and one, which is not always how I and others that look like me, that just means, again, arm, leg, arm, head, may express it. I may not see it out the worm all the time. It doesn't mean it's not there all the time. Now, see, those are the complications that, all praise be to the great God Allah, Noble Drew Ali worded perfectly. We can go to chapter 1 and understand who we are in relation to the infinite, and understand the trials and tribulations of the carnal nature, of a fallen nature, being for the purpose of exercising one's strength. A soldier never knows his strength without a foe. So when we apply these laws to our center, and we allow ourselves to emanate from the center to the outer bounds, and the laws don't change, because the universe is what it is. The holy breath is what it is. All we can say is great, it's good, it's good, it's great, it is, it was, and forevermore will be. I mean, it's just the is. However, the journey that we take is the goal. So to not fight it, to love it, to understand that love is infinite, and to use the holy instruction, to use examples of masterminds, of those that have mastered self, the lower self, chapter 1, to discern truth. Getting back to the great one. Oh man, it's just been a beautiful class, and this is, as the Council General said, what we should be doing 95 to 100% of our day. And this is what we're doing in this divine and national movement, paving the way and doing the work necessary for that to be, as it already is, a reality. Islamism without the schism. In gratitude and grand class, once again, Goddess Nicole Williams.
Islamism. Gratitude for that measure, Deputy Council General Freeman L. Goddess Nicole Williams, El-Bey. Would you like to close out your class?
Islam. I just want to encourage everyone to just get a lot of unpacking to do. A lot of things and thoughts that have became things. We have to rid ourselves of them so that we can raise our consciousness. It is very pressing and of importance at this time. Just continue to do your best to do better with how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, and how you do others. And always keep the love out front. Islam.
Islam. Gratitude, Goddess, for this class. And the understanding is a great deal of us are in the infancy of understanding these principles, and they are helping us with our more science as well as understanding the lessons that the prophet brought us. So, you know, this is, none of this is accidental. And just gratitude for you bringing these lessons to us. And please continue to teach us. January 15th, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards and your pens. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We're for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings towards the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. They lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is the holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
Islam. Men the Shankar Bay already risen. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother has given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when you separate in the world, remember the relations that bind you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother's in adversity, assist him. If thy sister's in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortune of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, and your love to each other. Grand class, Moors.
Excellent class. Gratitude, gratitude.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Grand class, daughters.
Islam Grand Class, continue the great work.
Yes, indeed.
Gratitude.
That's
People
a
become
class.
masterminds over their own selves.
Islam. Yeah, it's not, it's you approach this lesson well and the dissemination of it well. There's a lot of information, but make it very palatable for our mighty souls and infinite spirits. So, you know, definitely honors to you, high honors to you, goddess and queen.
Islam.
El-Bey.
Gratitude.
Peace and love, more.
Gratitude
Long,
with the right attitude. Islam.
long live Moorish America, long live Moorish Americans. Islam.
Islam.
Peace
Peace
and
and
love.
love.